Hello race fans, Mark Chiolis here. The Chasing Reno Gold video came about following the cancellation of the air races in 2011 after the horrific crash on that Friday afternoon. Because I still wanted to provide an archive record of something for 2011 having to do with the air races, I thought the best way to do that would be to sit down with every living unlimited gold winner and talk about what drives them. With Hoot Gibson's win flying Strega in 2015, I wanted to make sure that the video stayed up to date, and the best way I thought to do that was to sit down independently with Hoot and talk with him and ask him many of the same questions that we did with all of the other winners back in 2011.
Well, I was really fortunate because I grew up in a flying family. Mom and Dad were both pilots, and in fact that's how they met. All of that changed in about 1974 when I saw my first artist conception of a space shuttle. All of a sudden, here's a rocket with wings on it. It's going to land on a runway, and it's going to fly higher and faster than my F-14 Tomcat ever could. I saw that thing and I said, I have got to get me one of those. When the Reno air races started up again in 1964, I was a big fan of Air Progress magazine, and the air races were all over Air Progress magazine. Starting about then, I wanted to have my own Formula One racer. I guess I'd say we don't do any racing in the military, so I was never in any races in the F-4 Phantom, other than maybe one brief drag race in the F-14 Tomcat just for fun. And I flew at airspeeds as high as 600 knots at low level. My first race, well, it wasn't at Reno. I normally didn't tell anybody, oh, by the way, I used to be an astronaut, because it would clutter up boarding or offloading the airplane, so I never told anybody. Every so often the flight attendants would figure it out. I'd say the easier of the three is landing a space shuttle. The one I pick is kind of an unusual choice, I'm sure, and that is the Russian MiG-21. The nickname Hoot came about when I joined my first fighter squadron. I have a type rating in the Beechcraft Premier business jet, and I'm qualified on the race course, so Reno would let me take the Premier around the race course, and what we were doing was we were showcasing the fact that this is the world's fastest single-piloted business jet. What better place to talk about speed than Reno, at the Reno air races? And so I would do a 6-minute routine. Size up an airplane, look at the wing shape, look at the airfoil. And the thing is, we had plenty of criteria in place to test all of those things without having an arbitrary age limit. If there's knowledge out there, I'm going to sponge it up. We had an old expression in aviation that I'm sure all you aviators have heard before. Learn from other people's mistakes, because you're not going to live long enough to make them all yourself. He and I had so many knockdown, drag-out battles right down in the weeds, and we would be all over each other. We in the United States have a big challenge ahead of us, and that is to bring in younger pilots. I have one little F-22 foam quad rotor, kind of looks like an F-22, that I can fly in my living room. It won't handle outside because it isn't that capable. Most of the time when I've lost an engine, it has just gone. 2015 was a dream come true. I finally was able to race Strega. The Mustang, golly, Strega is a thoroughbred racehorse, a lightweight fighter. You can see out of it. Stephen Hinton Jr. made a brilliant move, and all of a sudden I dropped from second place to third place. And when I started racing, we had 24 unlimited racers. And I remember our first year, when I went there, I was worried that in riffraff maybe we wouldn't make the field. We are pretty much limited to only Reno. You need so much airspace and so much land space to be able to race around. We can't be racing over population. Hoot, what a smart ass you were. That was not a very gentlemanly thing to do. After seeing that happen, yes, I did make some changes. I was a little bit more rigorous in looking the airplane over because I was part of the NTSB investigation. And I had to say, you know what, this is the thrill of a lifetime. This ranks right up there with being a space shuttle commander. So even if I don't get to do it again, I certainly have 2015 to look back on and cherish the memory of Tiger DeStefani and L.D. Hughes and the whole Strega team.
Don't forget that Chasing Reno Gold, Let's Go to the Reno Air Races, and Reno 2012, The Return of Air Racing, are all now available for streaming and download on Vimeo.com on demand. In addition, DVD and Blu-ray are available at JustPlainFunVideos.com.
Most of us were beginners. We knew how to fly airplanes, but we didn't know too much about air racing. For me, it was, I just enjoyed putting a show on, and the flying was just a pleasure.
And Strega is the complete opposite. You know, it's built to go fast. And the faster you go, it just likes it better and better. So you can go from 250 miles an hour to 400 miles an hour in the blink of an eye, and it just feels comfortable. The faster you go, the more comfortable it is.
Well, I've been there 48 years, but I started the races for, I think maybe as much as 30 years consecutively. But I saw an awful lot of incidents, and a lot of times I'd have to call the pilots and say, you're going off the cliff.
Expanding that thought process, you know, it's hard for the costs involved to develop an airplane that's as well developed as the Mustang or the Bearcat or the Sea-Fury. You know, they've just got millions of hours of test flying. We know where the limits are with them.
We've got a business that really runs for 1 week a year, so we maintain a staff of 7 throughout the year, and then we balloon to about 2,500 for about 10 days, and then we go back to 7.
I told Tiger, I said, well, I think it can put 20 miles an hour on your airplane. And he said, do you know how fast this thing is? I says, well, how fast do you think it is?
Well, the Reno races got off to a very good start, and primarily the pilots are all real well qualified. Only one pilot was not an ex-military pilot. So everybody had formation experience.
Hey, we should get that Bearcat and put an engine on it and go racing. You know, and he said, yeah, and then we started talking to some other people about it, you know, just kind of BSing them too, and they took us serious, and thought, wow, you know, maybe we ought to look into this. And we talked to a pilot, and he said he'd fly it.
The people, the fans, and all the media that come out dealing with the people and seeing the excitement in their faces.
I said, let's go up to Reno and see what Dad has to say about this business. He wants to start a Reno Air Races.
First flew Steve's dad's Mustang in 2007, I believe, and it was real interesting having worked on one for so many years to go fly it and see how the airplane really felt. And it did help me a little bit get a better understanding of some of the things they were talking about in the sky.
Well, Tiger DeStefani bought a P-51, and he didn't know how to fly airplanes yet, so I picked it up for him, brought it to Bakersfield, and I owned an AT-6 at the time, so stuck him in the AT-6, gave him some dual. Tiger's a fast learner, and it wasn't long before he was flying the Mustang also.
Yeah, next morning, I'm standing by the airplane out on the ramp. I'd never been to Reno before, and Phil Barber comes out there from the Reno paper, and he comes over to me and looks at me, so you're going to fly Jeannie? We're sitting beside Jeannie, and Zusha was working on the motor at the time. He says, so you're going to fly Jeannie? And I said, yeah. He said, so you ever raced at Reno before? I said, no, huh? He says, how much time do you have on that airplane? I said, I flew it up here. And he said, so you like a half an hour? And I said, yeah, something like that.
I tell you what got me going to airplanes, believe it or not, was that movie, The Hunters. I can remember Robert Mitchum, Robert Wagner, Korean War story. I can remember standing in line with my dad, and he'd give me a dime, and that's what it cost to go see it. And then when I got out of there, then it was all about starting to build models.
Well, pretty much I'd done it myself. I remember the first year I was there, I'm just standing out there and I'm watching these guys go around the course, and I'm looking at the guys that I think did a really good job. You can kind of tell when they're flying, and the ones that didn't. And so it was like, well, that's the way he's doing it. It looks really good. He's got to be doing a better job. And so when it came time for me to do it, I'm going to do it like that. So I just kind of watched and learned from watching, and then just go do it that way.
Racing. It's in our DNA as humans. We're born with the desire to be the fastest, first across the finish line, the front runner. Our ancestors raced. They raced on foot and on horseback, in chariots, and then with automobiles and yachts, and best of all, airplanes. Airplanes like this one.
In a quarter mile. And it is the Shockley family who invented the awesome Fire Show and Shockwave, the duo here.